we'll walk around to do that. Thank you so much for joining us today to learn a little more about STAC. The acronym is Success Through Alternative Capital. It's a revenue-based finance pilot program that CIC is doing in partnership with Startup Tucson. And you'll hear from Bree in just a second, and as well as Ned. And we are very fortunate to have David with us tonight, who is going to talk a little bit more about, they run the platform on which this works. To talk about why that's important, why we're so thankful. Came all the way out from New York City. As he said, he's like, anytime I ask, he'll come and do that. And I told him, I wish I could get my staff to do that, to do anything I ask. So it's really nice of him. So first, we want to start off with a land acknowledgement. It's important for us in the work that we do, especially working with underrepresented communities, to acknowledge that the lands that we are on are Native American. So Community Investment Corporation acknowledges the sovereignty of Native nations. It acknowledges the 22 federally recognized indigenous tribes of the state of Arizona and those who inhabit Pima County. We honor the tribal nations who have served as caretakers of this land from time immemorial, and respectfully acknowledge the ancestral homelands of the Tohono Nation and the multi-millennial presence of the Pascua Yaqui tribe within Pima County. CIC strives to disrupt systems that perpetuate oppression and create a better life for residents of Southern Arizona. So tonight, as I said, Dave Silverstein is with us from NED. I will also be one of your speakers. I'm going to actually talk a little bit later on to go through some of the details of the actual loan product that we have, that we're presenting out to hopefully business owners can learn more about, or anybody who happens to be here, you have an interest in what revenue-based finance is, a little bit different than what we're used to in terms of term loans. And I want to turn this over to Bree. Startup Tucson, we always talk about as being our organizational BFF. We send emojis to one another, heart emojis and stuff like that. We do everything in conjunction with them. They do a lot of the business education. Bree will tell you a little bit about that, which makes what we do easier, which is providing access to capital to people who qualify and are eligible under our parameters, which are certainly a lot wider than what you see at a bank or a traditional lending. So, Bree.
Hey guys, welcome. Yeah, I'm Bree. I'm the Senior Operations and Impact Manager at Startup Tucson. So we are also a nonprofit, and we focus a lot on business education, as Danny said, as well as connecting entrepreneurs to different resources and tools in the community. So business education within Startup Tucson looks like kind of starting at the base level with a program that we call Accelerated Fundamentals. So we take business owners or people who even just have an idea of the business and work them through the Lean Canvas business model and kind of get them thinking how to grow a business or start a business. And then from there, we have advanced workshops that we hold. We're doing those almost every month at the moment. Some of the topics include things like digital marketing. We have a legal one coming up in May. We've done like bookkeeping, so just a lot of advanced topics that we don't have time to get to in that Accelerated Fundamentals workshop. Other things that we do, if you have a food business, we run a 10-week food accelerator called Recipes for Success. The fourth cohort is currently going. We'll have another one in the fall. And that is really like if you have a food product and you're trying to grow that business, it's a 10-week accelerator full of education specifically designed for food businesses, as well as amazing guest speakers like home department and other food entrepreneurs who have scaled their businesses and are successful and are coming to teach their guidance and wisdom. Let's see, what else do we do? Once you become a member of Startup Tucson, which is completely free, all of our programming and everything that we do is either free or low cost. So once you become a member, you can do monthly coaching sessions with Megan, who's our program manager. And those coaching sessions are just an opportunity to go over with our team kind of where are you at, what success have you had thus far, where do you want to go, what barriers are you up against, and what support do you need from us and for your business, and we will help connect you to resources that we have, or we can let you, if you need a mentor at that time, we have a mentor network that has over 80 volunteer mentors in all kinds of different subject matter expertise, and we can connect you with one of them. We just gonna plug 10 West. We are the founders and organizers of 10 West. It's a impact festival that we hold every November. We call it Part Party, Part Conference. It's a 3-day conference, a big street fest to kick it off, full of vendors, arts and culture events, and presentations, and all the things, and it's a lot of fun. So that's every November, and you can find more information about that at tenwest.com. And then to get involved with Startup Tucson, you'll just want to go to startuptucson.com. I can make some business cards for our team out in the front that you can pick up on your way out after this. I think that's kind of what we do.
Awesome.
We do a lot of stuff, but also we run a lot of networking events. So if you're kind of, I'm not sure what stages you guys are all at within your businesses, but we do serve all stages, all industries. And if you're kind of looking to get more involved in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, meet other entrepreneurs, we have a ton of networking events where you can do that and hopefully find some new friends and all of that. The next one is Startup Drake, which is next week, and you can find more info about that on our website.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Bree. So how many people here are entrepreneurs or business owners? Awesome. How many of you are optimistic about your businesses and where it's going? Yes. Of course you are. That's great. This is also why you guys are a little bit like, and don't take us into like teenagers. Like you think sometimes entrepreneurs, we see them, they're optimistic, they think they know everything. And so Startup Tucson will actually help you know it. In that way, they can help you with anything that you don't happen to know right now. And we hope that you'll take advantage of that. It's really important to the work that we do in terms of getting people capital, that businesses are continuing to learn and continuing to look at maybe what they're not as good at. Undoubtedly, if you're starting a business, owning a business, running a successful business, you're very good at something, but generally, you're probably not very good at everything. We're not perfect at anything. And so it's a real opportunity, and I would encourage you, no matter how successful you are, to continue to try to learn and access mentors like they have, or access some of the programming that Startup Tucson has. So we are CIC. Danny Lee, I'm the Executive Director of Community Investment Corporation. We are a financial empowerment organization, economic development organization. We work on access to the economy. That's the lens through which we see our work. What we think is that the economy works great for a lot of people, but it doesn't work great for everyone. And we want it to work great for everyone, or certainly more people. And so what we do is we focus on 3 program areas. We focus on, I think there's one, homeownership, entrepreneurship, with the P all the way down there for some reason, and then education. These are asset building types of programs. And what we're trying to do is help people who are normally have a hard time getting access to capital, for instance. That's the most important piece for what you're here for tonight, is help them get access to capital. We generally work with, or almost entirely work with what are called unbankable businesses. It means a business that a bank will not give a loan to. There are lots of reasons for that. One of the major reasons is people may not have collateral. They may not have the existing wealth to then pledge for collateral to then get the wealth. They may not have the credit scores because of things that happened in the past. Lenders tend to care more about what used to be than what is right now, or what may be in the future. And so we try to turn that on its head a little bit to help people out. Here. Yeah, it gets to introduce David. I think this starts your part, and I get to sit down for a bit. Thank you. There you go.
Thanks so much, Jenny. Appreciate it. Nice to meet everybody, and thank you for welcoming me to Tucson. My name is David Silverstein, and I'm the CEO of NED. We've been working and have been really grateful to work with CIC from our very beginning. We started NED a couple of years ago. And in many ways, the financial product at CIC is one thing, over the last couple of week they've already deployed their first full loans. Really was a partnership. And when I started working with Danny, he actually said, we're not like all lenders. We are a living laboratory. Let's try to something really exceptional and special. We work with all sorts of lenders, banks, non-banks, and CIC is a particularly exceptional organization because they have a creative lens with which they work with business owners. And it did, I try to wake up every day and make it for small business owners. It is a particular problem, economic problem, socioeconomic, pandemic in America that small business owners cannot their capital. I grew up in a town in New York, much smaller in Tucson, where small businesses work the economy, many of which were passed down generation to generation, family owned. And so when I started building that, or thinking about building that, it was really with the goal of making sure that the folks that I grew up with could grow their business. The folks that I love, the friends, family, run businesses that are considered small or local or regional, wouldn't have to always be trying to get by, that they could actually have an opportunity to thrive. And so I'm going to start with a story about my friend. His name is Will, and in many ways he was the inspiration for Ned. I'll talk about what our technology does, but really it all comes down to a particular moment where Will, who runs an exceptional business, Brooklyn, New York, tourism business, he actually gives tours in Brooklyn on motorbikes for all sorts of folks. It's a significantly growing business, a few $1 million in revenue. He's an immigrant to the United States, and for one reason or another, exceptional business, exceptional cash flow, could not get a bank loan. And he was perplexed by this. He had worked for a decade to build this business. He would go to lenders and be turned away for no reason other than not really having enough collateral, and in his case, not enough business credit. He knew, and so I didn't really want to accept that. I didn't understand why that was happening. In particular, I thought it was more the lender's problem rather than the business owner's problem, and I wanted to understand why. So I started talking to lenders. Many years ago, all sorts of ones, big banks, small banks, credit unions, lenders just like CIC, and agnostic of where in America they were, or the types of businesses that they wanted to lend to, they said two things to me. They said, we simply don't have the right financial product to offer small business, and even if we did, we wouldn't have the technology with which to lend money. And I think what I learned through this particular experience, what I learned through this particular experience, the battery, there we go, that it's actually it's very difficult to lend money. For the lender, the actual process, start to finish, is an unbelievably tedious, difficult, challenging process, and it's very expensive to do. It's not that the lenders don't want to lend. It's that oftentimes they don't have the resources or the technologies to effectively engage with the borrower. And so I wanted to, build a system that would allow a lender to offer the types of financial products that were best fit for their customers, not necessarily a typical term loan with typical interest rates, but I wanted to give them technology that if they could design a financial product that was right for their community, that was right for the business owners that they wanted to serve, that they could build that. And I think, the one number that I consider often is rejection rate in America. And so today, if you're a small business owner and you apply for a typical bank loan, upwards of 70% of the time, you are rejected upon the loan. That's absurd to me. And so if you do the back of the envelope math, what that could mean is that any given moment in America, 10 million small business owners are operating in an underfinanced fashion. And so for the small business owners in the room, you are not just not alone, you are part of a broad community of excellent small business owners that are trying to move forward, trying to figure out how to operate and grow. And for the business owner experience, trying to seek a loan makes an already challenging experience that much harder. I run small businesses. I come from a small business community and background, and I think the day-to-day is hard enough. When you want to seek a loan or secure financing, it makes a difficult experience that much harder. And sometimes I like to think of it as that moment in Gladiator where he goes, "Are you not entertained? Is this not enough?" And I think we're trying to figure out a way to allow lenders to make that easier, to make that a non-issue altogether. And so when we started working with Danny, we worked to build a financial product that was right for Tucson, not a financial product that was, any given product, but one that spoke to members of the community, that worked for the local economy, that worked for local businesses. And so when Danny tells you about the financial product in a little bit, it really comes down to three components. I think, for small business owners, the types of things that you might see at while you're shopping around or looking at different types of opportunities is duration. How long is this loan going to last, or how long is this financial product going to last? How long will I be repaying? The second thing is cost. How much is this going to cost me to get this capital? Oftentimes for business owners without collateral or with credit difficulty, it is very costly. You're paying quite a bit to get that capital, and oftentimes the terms are very unfair, if not extracted. And then the last piece is, how are you going to repay? How does the lender want you to pay back? Is it a fixed term? Are there nuances to the repayment? And I think, when trying to design the right type of financial product for CIC, we wanted to make sure that it was a fit for the actual business owner. That when the business owner were to apply to CIC, that they would be able to see themselves succeeding with it. That it would give them a level of flexibility to do a couple of things. One, pay back with a flexible term. That was really important to CIC. The second thing was that it was a fair fee, a fair rate, that it would be less than a bank loan altogether, and that you would be able to pay back based on performance. Oftentimes, today, most small businesses operating in the American economy are seasonal. The economy is more volatile than ever, and so trying to keep up with a fixed-term repayment loan is oftentimes impossible. And so we wanted to make this financial product performance-based, where the business owner can pay back with a share of revenue versus a fixed-term repayment that you would pay every month, agnostic of your performance. And so what Danny's going to be sharing with you is the launch of CIC's revenue-based financial product, which essentially means you pay back with a portion of revenue over time as your business grows. And so when you look at a revenue-based financial product versus a term loan, there's three main differences. The first is that if you're going to apply for a term loan where there is a fixed term, there's a hard end date, there is a hard fixed term repayment every month, you're going to be asked for collateral. You're going to be asked for a credit minimum, whether it's personal credit or business credit. In the case of most revenue-based financial products, it's really based on the performance and merit of the business altogether. Lenders look at the cash flow, they look at year-over-year growth or month-over-month growth, and they don't most of the time run credit checks. In this case, I believe there's certainly no collateral associated with the financial product. Again, to give you more details there. The second and most important thing with this financial product is that there is no ending. And so it's structured in such a way that it's actually a commercial agreement where there's a purchase of future receipts and you pay back over time, but there's no term on it. And so one of the things that CIC felt very strongly about was they wanted to make sure that the business owner could pay back at the rate that they could, that they weren't dealing with a daunting end date if there was a down month or a quarter of performance. There would be a level of flexibility that no other local lender in Tucson could really provide. And so, altogether, when you're looking at different types of loan products, it comes down to a bit of a math equation, and the math kind of runs the gamut depending on the type of business that you run. And so I guess I'll ask you to imagine your small business that you run and think to yourself, like, what's your monthly revenue? And what's the capital that you need? So we're trying to calculate how much per month or per quarter or per year would you be paying back based off of the nature of your business performance. And so let's say CIC is willing to finance your business up to 20% of your annual revenue. And, they affix a repayment rate of 6%. So on a monthly basis, you might share back 6% of your overall revenues over time. And so back of the envelope math for a small business, that I might run, we might have had annual revenue of $500,000, monthly revenue on average of 40, 41. We were a little bit seasonal, so summer months we got most of our revenue, but panned out to roughly 40 a month. And we were able to get $100,000 from CIC. They were able to finance us without a credit check or collateral because my personal credit probably would not have gotten me over the line in the traditional sense, and certainly do not have collateral for this type of business. And given this math, given a revenue share of 6%, I would have shared back on average $2,500, and this type of financial product would have run 3 years, more or less, just given the nature of my business. And so when you work with CIC and when you apply, oftentimes, and Brandy and Sarah and others on the team are working directly with the small business community, you'll go through the types of terms that are right for you. You will figure out what type of financing you need, the proper revenue share to make sure that this type of financial product will last a given amount of time that's really right for you. There's really no, as far as I can tell, no hard or fast rules, but Danny can speak to that. And so one of the things that we wanted to make sure that Danny's stakeholders in the community had was like a really excellent digital experience. One of the reasons why lending in the U.S. is so difficult is because it's a really bad technology. And so for us, we wanted to make sure that the lender could use our technology to qualify a borrower and serve the borrower, but that we could actually provide an awesome experience for the small business owner. We wanted to make sure that the small business owner felt connected, that they felt empowered, that they felt that they could reach out to CIC and have a relationship with them over time. And we built an end-to-end platform that does just that. And that helps organizations like CIC around the country launch different types of revenue-based financial products in their community and region. And so when you apply, or if you apply to CIC, you'll be welcomed by a very seamless application experience. You'll probably work with Brandy ahead of time just to get ready, have a quick conversation. They'll go through what that application entails. You'll create a profile, you'll submit information, you'll be able to provide financial data on your business performance in a really seamless fashion. And our goal is to make it a really seamless experience. We don't want it to be a back and forth on emails. We don't want it to be kind of phone tag or chasing different PDF statements. We wanted it to happen in a really linear, easy fashion and quick. We wanted to make this as quick as possible, not for CIC, because we know you're running a business. This is urgent. You need capital to grow, right? These are, you're facing growth moments right now that are not going to stick around. So we wanted the platform to make, we wanted to make sure our platform and technology enabled you all to move at speed. And so the second thing that'll happen on the platform is you go through a review and approval process. So you'll work with Brandy, you'll work with Sarah, Danny, Caroline, the rest of the staff to go through a review and approval. They will look at different details about your business, probably ask you questions on the platform. They'll verify certain things on the platform. And then, of course, once you're reviewed and approved for the loan, you'll actually sign the contract. You'll be closing on the platform as well. So again, trying to keep it all in a central place for you, giving you a really easy, seamless route to get to yes. And most importantly, we wanted to take care of what we heard was the hardest part of a lending experience, not just for the lender, but also for the borrowers as well, which is repayment. We automate repayments on our platform. We wanted to make sure that it was a tech-first experience where the business ability to automate repayment, stay on top of things, providing layers of transparency to CIC, and having an ongoing dialogue about how the business is performing. And as well, giving CIC the opportunity to add further non-capital. CIC does a lot of stuff in the community, and so they want to be able to use that as a way to not just check in, but to give you more resources on top of that as you go through the repayment process. And so all of that is automated and taken care of on NED, and you're able to use the platform really just to stay on top of the actual financial product, so you can actually run your business. Oftentimes, the goal of an effective loan is to make sure you're not spending ultimate time on it, that you're running the business day to day. And so our goal is to take that burden off of the business owner as well as the lender altogether. And so it's a long way of saying thank you for welcoming me to Tucson. I definitely going to be here for questions afterwards. I would love to talk to all of you and hear about your businesses and answer any questions on the platform side. But I'll pass it back to Danny to talk a little bit more about the CIC financial product and the application process that they're offering.
Thanks so much, Dave. And honestly, if we can talk a little bit, I'm not going to bore you with tons of details about why this is needed and why NED, but just know that one of the problems or one of the issues that we have, and I'm not here to demonize or bash banks. Banks doing have a really important role in our economy. They do a great job of it, but generally speaking, they're profit motivated. Small loans are very, very hard for them to do administratively. They cost a lot, and so you'll find many banks who, in commercial lending, there are banks that won't do anything under a $250,000 loan. And then there are other ones, probably the lowest, outside of maybe a credit union, is like $50,000 loans are probably the minimum that you can get, because the cost to issue the loan eat into any profit. So we're a nonprofit. Okay? That's one of the reasons that we can do this. We don't have to make a profit. I would say we don't have to make money. We just can't lose money with what we're doing. But it is important to know that we don't get, probably to the chagrin of my lending staff, we don't get paid commission. We're not volume based. We're not trying to shove you into a loan that you don't need. We actually have multiple lending products, not just this one that we're talking about. And we also have multiple lending partnerships with other people. Our job as a nonprofit, I swear I didn't get into nonprofit 25 years ago to prove it. Like, I absolutely did not. We're here to help people. And so the idea is finding the right fit. And that's Dave talked about, probably talked to Brandy. We would want to make sure that this fits for what it is that you need, what you're looking for, and it's the best option, not just an option. Of course, you'll have what you'll be able to make the final decision on what you need. But I do just want to sort of contextualize why we do what we do. So here are some of the reasons that we started. Businesses without adequate collateral or assets struggle to qualify for traditional loans. Part of the problem in our country with the economy is, if you don't already have wealth, it's really hard to build wealth. A lot of the tools, not all the tools, like, yes, hard work and all the things, I'm not discounting that at all. What I'm saying, though, is there are more tools available to people who have existing wealth, who can invest in different opportunities to build more wealth. But how do we get people to have that existing wealth in the first place? And one of the issues is around the way we capital access is done here in this country. And a story that I like to sort of tell, because what I say sometimes to people is, it's a lack of imagination that's holding us back. We're such an innovative country, and yet in terms of financial products, we are lacking some imagination. In the 1940s, mortgages, how many people own a home here? So if you have a mortgage, the 30-year mortgage is what everybody talks about. You get a 30-year mortgage. Before the 1940s, they did not have 30-year mortgages. Nothing like that existed. They did not have 10%, 5%, 0% down payments like we have. When the 30-year mortgage came about, it is an innovation in lending and in finance. And the home ownership rate in the United States jumped 50% in a decade. And all it was about finding a lending tool that allowed more people who didn't have access before, to have access to capital to buy and build an asset. And what we're trying to do is really no different than that. What we're trying to find is it's true, we're a living laboratory. We are experimenting with different things, trying to find different ways to get people access to capital. And that includes entrepreneurs and business owners. Does anybody know how important loans and debt capital, as we call them, are in the to businesses in our economy? So if you think about all the value of businesses, take the businesses that are on the stock exchange, all that, how much they're worth, their value. Over the last 15 years, there has been roughly 90% the value, if it's, and I don't know what the number is, but it's up in the billions, trillions of dollars. There is 90% of that number, that's also in commercial debt. So there is almost as much commercial debt in the United States as there is lending, and as there is value in the companies that are here. And why is that important to know? Because it tells you that debt is a way that businesses grow. They stabilize and grow. It doesn't mean that I'm not claiming that every business should have debt under every circumstance. But we are kidding ourselves if we act as if debt isn't important. Most of the wealth for people is held in their own primary house, in real estate, in their primary home, not for the top 10%, but for regular people. That's what it is. And most of us have done that because we borrowed money. We didn't take cash for our home, those who own homes. We borrowed money to be able to build assets. Okay, so that's just the context for why we're doing it. So our solution is to have flexible capital, and I'm going to keep hitting on business education is an essential part of it. It's not just okay to give money. We have to help businesses succeed, and businesses succeed by learning more. If you're great at producing your product, let's say you're a great baker. That doesn't mean you're a great accountant. It doesn't mean you're great at marketing. And so we have resources to help you with some of those other things. And we want you to take advantage. And that's why it was important for us to partner with Startup Tucson. So examples of revenue-based finance. You may have seen some of this. Some of you may have been offered this before. There are revenue-based finance products that already exist. Places like Square, PayPal, Stripe. If you don't know any of these, they're basically, most people know what PayPal is, but what they do is they have all of your people transact through PayPal, and they have all of your data and information. And so they say, oh, you know what? This person looks like they have good cash flow. We know we have all this information. Also, QuickBooks actually offers a revenue-based finance because they know a lot about you. They won't necessarily tell you why you're qualified, but they'll offer you revenue-based finance. So these exist out in the world already. We didn't come up with something brand new. We're just making it better, quite honestly. So the devil is in the details, though. There's a lack of transparency in revenue-based finance right now. It is very hard to figure out whether or why you qualify. They know your information and they'll send you an offer, not unlike sending, you may have gotten offers for loans and credit cards in the mail. It's a little bit like that, quite often. Okay? That's what they're doing. It is really difficult to compare an interest rate to a term loan. They talk about the interest, and we'll talk about some of the language that's used, that makes it hard to compare. Because most of us understand things in the idea of an annual interest rate for a term loan, and these places won't do that. They won't talk to you about, well, what is the actual, what we call the effective interest rate. If you were to pay back in this much time with this multiplier, here's what your effective interest rate is. And so we try to take some of that out as well. We are very transparent about what we're doing. They also have what are called milestone payments. So when they say what Dave was talking about is repayments for a revenue-based loan are based on your revenue. And so if you were to have a zero, let's say for whatever reason, I mean, we did have the pandemic, so if you had no revenue coming in for a month, with our loan product, the revenue-based finance we have, you would pay zero in that month. For these, what you would have is you would have a milestone payment, so that every 3 months or 6 months, they would still make you pay a minimum payment. And to me, it's a very strange thing, because then it's not a revenue-based product. It's not actually based on your revenue. It's based on, they want to make sure that they're getting money. It's more for them than it is for you. And again, because we're a nonprofit, we are going to focus more on what your needs are. So if you look at these, this is one of the things I'm asking you, and I think you have a handout. You would want to ask somebody, do you have milestone payments? They often have shorter terms as well, which is strange because, again, revenue-based finance is supposed to be, you're paying as your business performs. So as it does better, yes, you're going to have higher monthly payments. And in months that you have less revenue, you'll have lower payments. And there's a certain logic to that, I think. There's a certain logic to the idea when your business is going better, you probably have more free cash, you probably have extra cash, and so you can pay a little bit higher. And when you're not doing as well, you can pay lower. And we don't have a minimum payment. If you make zero in a month, you would pay zero. I hope you never make zero in a month. So let's just get that clear. But if that was the case, you would pay zero. Again, these are things that you would want to look at. The other thing is they have no cap on monthly payments. So let's say you are killing it. You are just crushing it in your business. They are going to continue to take the percentage that you agree to no matter what. If you go from making, $1,000 a month to making $10,000 a month, your payment will go up by 10 times with one of theirs. What we actually do is we have a cap. So we say, even when you guys are doing really well, and it's a good thing to do really well, we will cap your payment because what we think is we want you to reinvest that money back into your business. Yes, we want to get paid back, and we want you to be able to pay us back, but we don't want to take all the money that you may use to actually grow your business. Okay? So that's a little bit how we are different. The result from these, and again, what they don't tell you at the front is what any sort of estimate of what the effective interest rate is. And I can tell you that most of these wind up being very, very high interest. 20s, 30s, 40s, 50%, depending on how quickly you pay something back. They also try to do these really short term, 6 months, 12 months. And because it's shorter term, it's hard, there's this math thing, they'll say, hey, our fee is a 12% fee, but if you have to pay a 12% fee back in 6 months, that's really 24%. It's actually higher than that, but it's roughly 24%. So it's higher than it may appear to be when they talk about it. And we try to make sure that we're very clear with you what it is that you would be getting. So what's different about us? We cap your monthly payment. There is no term length. We don't have like, hey, at 1 year, you have to have it all paid back no matter what, no matter how well your business did. There are no milestone payments, not like every quarter. That's often what it is every quarter they'll have a milestone payment. You have to pay at least a certain amount. And our effective interest rates are meant to be between 8 and 20%. Now, 20%, I definitely understand, can sound a little bit high. You have to understand that these are unsecured loans. Secured loans with collateral are always they're probably gonna be the gold standard. You have something, that idea of like, if you don't repay us, you can come and take your house, you can come and take your car, whatever it is. And so banks and everybody, even us, we would offer lower interest rates on secured loans. Unsecured loans are with no collateral. It's more like a credit card is. That's like the best way I can sort of, the example, if you pay for a TV and you don't pay your credit card, they can't come and take your TV from you. They will screw your credit, but they can't come and take your TV for you. But you will notice that credit cards also have higher interest rates than a bank loan. Okay, so we're not getting away from the fundamentals of what lending is and those types of things. But what this does also do is, especially for seasonal businesses, and you're here in Tucson, you know, depending on what your business is, summers can be rough. In Tucson, businesses are down. And so your payments are going to be lower during that time. So one of these things, what I sort of, it's maybe a weird way to call it, it's sort of insurance against downtime. You basically are getting the idea of like, if you have seasonal business, during those times where you're not making as much money, you're not paying as much because it would be harder to pay. That's the idea. And then when you make more money and have more money, you're going to pay a little bit higher per month. So our effective interest rate, again, you'll have that term, are between 8 and 20%. And we will tell you, and what we try to do is we set it up, we play with different parameters. A little complicated to get into here. It has to do with what your gross margins are, what your net revenues are, a lot of different things, and we can adjust them so that we're trying to get you to have a 3-year payoff and probably more in the range of a 12% interest rate. That is, 12 to 15% interest rate that is unsecured, that also has the benefit of not having high payments when you're not making money. Okay. So again, I'm not here to claim that this is the best for everyone. If you have collateral, you can pledge collateral, you can get a lower interest rate and don't mind a straight payment, that's what you should do. Okay. But for a lot of people, that isn't available. That isn't something that they have. And so we're trying to find ways to get access to capital for people where that may not be the fit. So the education and coaching, again, there's an initial meeting to determine the support that's needed. So that's the support, like what sort of business support you may already know. If you don't, they'll help evaluate your business. They'll talk to you for a little bit to find out what types of things you might be able to benefit from. They offer classes and mentors. I think the mentorship is actually one of the best things. So there are a lot of places that do what I call a sort of one-size-fits-all business training. And the idea is like, if you need something, you go through a 6-week class or a 4-week class, and they teach you everything from beginning to end. But not every business owner needs something from beginning. You may be, again, I said before, you may be really good at certain parts of your business. And what you really need is you need a marketing professional to help you out. So they hook you up with a one-on-one mentor to help you with your marketing or figure out how to do that, or accounting, or whatever it may be. Not everybody needs to go through the business 101 and take everything. That if you haven't done it, it's actually great. The whole lean canvas that Bree was talking about, it is fantastic, but oftentimes that may not be what you need. And also, as a business owner, it can be hard to spend that much time in training. You want to get something that's quicker and sort of more pointed at exactly what it is that you need. And then they'll have monthly check-ins to see how you're doing. The monthly check-ins are not to, it isn't like oversight. It isn't like to make sure you're doing your chores or something like that. It's to see if you have any additional needs, to see if you need any additional help. Okay? We want you to be successful. I mean, that's the part I think sometimes that we take for granted a little bit. Sometimes when we're dealing with big institutions, you just think like, we're just a number. They don't care whether I'm successful or not. We deeply care whether you're successful. We are an organization that currently right now has about 100 loans. That is not a lot. That's pretty small. We care that you succeed. We will spend the time to make sure that you are successful in your business. It's really, really important. So here's the eligibility. We are running a pilot. We've just recently launched this pilot program called STAC. So we may change these parameters at some time, but we have to start somewhere. We got $250,000 from a group called Common Future, one of our partners, to basically pilot this, to see if it works. So what we started at was, if you have gross revenues under $500,000, then you can qualify for this loan. I will say, if you're close, come and talk to us anyway. We're trying to figure out where the right part is. So, you're at 600, let's still talk to us about it. It's not like an automatic that you're not there. So $500,000 and below in gross annual revenue. Your business needs to be located in Southern Arizona, not in Tucson, anywhere in Southern Arizona. Draw a line from Casa Grande across the state and everything south. We're happy to do business with you there. You need to have been in business for 2 years. Okay. So again, this loan isn't for startups, and that may disappoint some people, but not every tool is a fit for every type of business. So in this case, you need to have been in business for 2 years. And this is really important. We have some flexibility around this, but it makes it way harder on us, quite honestly, is that you need to be using a traditional business bank account. If you're running a business and are not segregating your money and don't have a business bank account, you need to open one up. It's a prerequisite for any loan that we have. It's a prerequisite for basically any lender anywhere. It's the only way that they can know really how well you're doing. If you're commingling money with like personal expenses, we can't figure out what's your business, what's your personal. You really need to do that. We can help you do it. We can help you open up a business bank account. One of the reasons that this is especially important for what we're doing here is Ned is a platform that allows us to do underwriting quickly. Most lending that's done in this space will take 2 months at a minimum. Right? They'll ask for a ton of paperwork. They'll ask for your tax returns. They'll ask for, to name your new dog after them. They'll do whatever. They ask for everything. And they ask for it up front before you even know whether you're gonna get a loan. What this does is it basically connects to your bank account. If anybody's ever used online budgeting tools, there's like things called Mint or other, it works through a system called Plaid, very, very secure. It's even, it's the same thing that happens if you use TurboTax and you connect to your credit card company. It's the same technology that used that, but it connects directly to your bank account. And then what it does is it downloads all that information, and Ned's platform puts it so that we can see very quickly what are the revenues, what are the expenses, those types of things. And that's why it's really important to do that. We have had some success with Shopify for people. So if you're using Shopify for your business, but in general, we really suggest that you get a business bank account. Part of what we're trying to do too is there are more tools and resources in what I would call the formalized economy. Like when you have a bank, a relationship, when you have commercial bank that's helping you, and you have a business bank account, there are more resources available to you than if you're a cash business and those types of things. And this is something you have to be formalized to really take advantage of it. The funding is up to $50,000. Okay, you can get up to a $50,000 for max. The maximum what you can borrow would be 20% of your gross revenues. So if you had $100,000 in gross revenues, you could get a $20,000 loan. Okay, and it really has to do. What that has to do is, again, it's sort of the math behind it of how much you'll be repaying and how much the monthly payments are. You can't go and borrow 50% of or 100% of what you're bringing in. You can borrow up to 20%. It is 1.28x. This is where things start getting into like the terminology. It's called the multiplier, called the fee. Anything else, Dave, that they call it?
Whatever you want to call
Okay. So what it means basically is that it is a set amount that you will repay. If you borrow $10,000, your total repayment will be $12,800. That's 1.28 times the $10,000. Okay, you will pay that back no matter how long it takes you to pay it, because it's based on your revenues and how your business is going. Not a set payment. So that is the amount. The strange thing about it, the better you do, the higher your effective interest rate. Now, again, that may seem like, whoa, that's not great, but the idea behind this is, the fit is when you're doing better, you have more money to pay back. And when you're not doing as well, then you don't have as much money to pay back. The longer it takes, the lower that becomes. If you were to pay back in 1 year, your effective interest rate would be 28%. And that's not what we're looking for. We set up the parameters again, so we're looking at basically a 3-year payment if you were to stay steady at whatever. We can't predict the future, but we go off of what you're doing, and it would take you 3 years to pay it back. Okay? And so it won't be 28% over on 3 years. It would be 28% if you paid it back in 1 year. But the good thing is that means you were killing it. And with us, it wouldn't be 28% because we actually cap with the monthly payment. Okay? You have to connect your bank account to STAC. Payments are pulled automatically. So you can choose weekly or monthly, how often they get pulled. Has anybody used a merchant cash advance? Good for you. Okay. Because it's one of the things, it is a product out there where people pay daily their credit card receipts. Companies will do this. They're called merchant cash advances. Again, their effective interest rates tend to be incredibly high, but they pull them right from your credit card machine, basically, and they pull them every day. What we do is we pull every week, and it's based upon the revenues that go into your business bank account. Okay, so we're going to give you a little example. Again, there are more details to this. We're gonna try to keep it, a little bit higher level. So Karina is a local jeweler. After the gem show, and gem show season around here, those who are here know gem show is like a big deal. She landed 5 new wholesale accounts. Okay, so she has a need to get inventory quickly because she has new buyers that she wants to provide the jewelry to. She needs $15,000 for inventory. Okay, she decides she needs $15,000. She goes through our qualification process, which is really pretty simple. Again, relative to going into a bank where you're not sure you're going to qualify. If you use online lenders, you are going to pay a much higher interest rate. There's still term loans. So I know there are other options. I'm not trying to claim there aren't. She qualifies for STAC. She goes through the pretty easy process of that. So here's what's going to be for Karina. She is borrowing $15,000. Her total repayment is going to be that $15,000 plus, they call it, depending on what you want to call it, a fee. In this case, a one-time fee of $4,200. Not paying it right now, but that's the 28%, the 1.28x. So that's the 28%. So the total repayment is going to be $19,200. Karina receives $15,000 right now. Okay, after she gets approved in STAC, Karina repays she's going to repay $19,200 total. So what does this mean? She agrees, and this is flexible. This is one of the places that we can be flexible, is what percentage of your revenues will you pay to pay back? Karina agrees to pay 8% of her gross weekly revenue. She's going to do it weekly. So in the first month, this is just to give you an idea. In the first week, her gross revenues are 3,000. And when I say gross revenues, I mean all the money you bring in. Net revenues would be all the money you bring in minus any expense. So this is all the money that you bring in. She makes $3,000, so that first week she would pay $240. 8% of weekly revenue. In week 2, she has a really good week. She made $5,500, so she would pay $440. And again, this is automatically pulled from the account. In week 3, she has $4,200 in revenue. She would have $336 pulled from the account. In week 4, she was closed for a week. Water main broke. I don't know what happened. Something bad happened. She makes $0. Karina pays $0 in the week that she has no revenues. So again, the idea is payments are slightly higher when you do better. Payments are lower when you're not doing as well. Okay. How's my math here? 8,500. Help me out here. $12,700 is what she made in the month. So that's like a $120,000, $130,000 a year business. So it's that's good. It's still really a relatively small business. Okay, so the timeline in terms of steps funding. Are there any questions, by the way, on that? I should probably not just blow through that like that. I can barely do the math. I don't know why I'm expecting anybody else. Are there any questions about how this works and how that's different than a term loan? A term loan would say you would borrow a certain amount and you would have a monthly payment. No matter what you made, you would owe that amount.
And the $4,200,
Yep.
when it gets paid?
What's that?
So the $4,200, that one-time fee,
Yes.
when is the paid towards the monthly payment?
It's getting paid all the time. So the total amount all year, in this case, different than a term loan where it's interest that's based on what's still owed, the principal. What this is it's just saying you borrow $15,000 and you're going to pay back $19,200 over time. And again, what is different about this, what becomes important about it, is the idea that we work to stretch out how long it takes, and that lowers the effective interest rate. That's not what other RBS, revenue-based finance products, it's actually really hard to get information, honestly, about other revenue-based finance products because people are not transparent about what they're doing. And I always say if people are not being transparent about what they're doing, they are probably trying to take advantage of you in some way. It is definitely weighted towards the people who are not being transparent, whatever their deal.
Yeah, I can see how the stretching it out for 3 years would be beneficially. 15K is enough for her to get by.
Yeah.
In a situation where if she's doing really well, rather than stretch it out, could she pay off quicker, then come back to whoever it is, renegotiate projections of where the company's going, and take out more money?
Yes, and one of the things that we are actually looking at, and again, it's a pilot program, so I hope people will hang in with us. One of the things we would like to do is actually incentivize people to pay off quicker if they're able to, and so actually potentially lower the 1.28 because if they can pay it back, so that again, the shorter, like I'm again going to be as transparent, worst salesman of all time. The quicker you pay it back, the higher the effective interest. Yes. Okay. So in some ways, there wouldn't be an incentive to pay back quicker unless we figure out a way to incentivize it. So that is a great question, and we actually need to figure that out because, again, the idea is we want to do what's in the best interest of the business.
Because I think it's like, I see it solving a cash flow issue, provided that amount is enough for cash flow in the company. And I guess it depends on when you land your contract, whether it's monthly, annually, will impact the decision price.
Yep. And what's interesting is revenue-based finance, again, Dave, you can help me out here, but right now what it's used for often is like subscription software where people they're getting more and more subscribers every month, so their cash flow is going up, and they have to build more and more capacity very, very quickly. And so those businesses on some levels don't care. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but they almost don't care how much they're paying in interest.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at with mine, and it's not that you don't care.
Right.
You don't have the cash flow to get to the peace of mind to get there.
Yeah.
And this will solve that.
Yes, and that's the idea. Again, what I don't want to do is I'm not trying to pitch this to anybody as like the perfect product for every situation. But the other thing is, I will tell you, we do our work with humility. And when I say that, what I mean is we are trying something and we understand it may not be perfect. And so we want to actually hear feedback from people. How can it be better? One of the great things, amazing things, I really do, I have to give a lot of credit to Dave and Mayor, who's his partner and co-founder. This whole time, he has always asked us, what do you need? And we just keep coming at him with different stuff like, well, we'd really like it to do this, we'd really like to do this, and they keep building it in. They didn't give it to us perfectly made. We've been helping to actually develop the product. And so we have a very customized product, which is great, which is amazing for us. We actually take a similar approach. We're saying this is a pilot program. Not everything we're doing is perfect. So tell us, you know, how it's not working for you. Tell us what it is that would be better for you. And we'll tell you whether we can do something like that. Okay, so the timeline and steps to funding. So this is just running you through what you would do. You would first connect with CIC staff. That's probably Brandy over here in the back in the blue. Right on. One of the people that won't listen to me ever, so that's great. You connect with her, discuss whether STAC is the right fit for you. Again, we have other loan products, and she will talk about any of them. And again, if it doesn't fit into what we're doing, we can help find other lenders. We tend to do smaller loans, $50,000 and below. We can go up to $100,000. But if you needed more than that, we have other nonprofit lenders that we work with that can help. Our thing is we want what's best for you. CIC would then send you the STAC application link if this is the right fit for you. You'll create an account with Ned and link your business bank account. We then review the information, the application, and the information that is downloaded to us. It happens way more quickly. There is still stuff we're working out, and mostly what it is we set these original parameters, and we're realizing that we set sort of too many parameters, and most of the businesses that are applying don't actually meet all of them. So we're having to do a little more work on our own we call them exceptions. They're not. Right now, they're the rule. But so we're trying to adjust like the parameters. Okay, what's a better way to do this? So, but it will take about a week. But I mean, relative to what you are talking about with again, bring in all your information, throw it into the black box of some lending people, not Tucson Federal Credit Union, because Miguel makes sure that doesn't happen. But other than that, like sometimes that's the feel. The feel is like, I have to do all this work and I don't know whether I'm going to qualify. And what we're trying to do is have this done more quickly. So it's not a big waiting game, because if you need capital, you need capital. And we want you, if it's not with us, we want you to be able to go and find something else quicker. Even if it's no, we want you to know that quicker than from a bank. There's something good about that, even if you were to be told no. So we review the application. Then if it's all good, you sign the funding document, connect with Startup Tucson, and you generally receive the funding in 2 to 3 days after that. So it is a relatively, I mean, we talk about it, it's really a matter of like weeks, maybe 2 weeks, versus months that you would have with a bank. Okay, so that's our presentation. I don't know if there are any questions.